Grab your ghoul repellent and get ready for Scooby Doo on Zombie Island. Because this time, the monsters are real. Now on video from Warner Brothers Family Entertainment.
Scooby Doo on Zombie Island. This is a VHS tape that I played a lot of as a kid. The lore of Scooby Doo is rich and some would say unnecessarily complex. There are a lot of different releases, a lot of different storylines, and at this point in the 90s, the character had really died out. But Cartoon Network ends up buying the rights to Scooby Doo and the Hanna-Barbera cartoons, which is a reason why, if you're around my age, you might remember there being a lot of reruns of Hanna-Barbera stuff on Cartoon Network. And because there was so many episodes being played of Scooby Doo on Cartoon Network, the character in the show found a new audience, and with the renewed interest, they thought, hey, let's put out a new movie. Scooby Doo on Zombie Island is actually the first direct-to-video release in the franchise. And to go along with the franchise returning, the plot of this movie is sort of a revival in a sense. It starts off at the beginning when the gang has been disbanded and everyone is off kind of doing their own career thing. Daphne and Fred work on Daphne's talk show, Scooby and Shaggy are working for TSA, which is actually kind of funny, and Velma owns a mystery bookstore, which seems like, don't pigeonhole yourself that hard, you know what I mean? You can have other books, it's okay. Daphne's gonna do this Haunted Across America segment, so Fred decides, this is the time to get the gang back together. Now, part of the gang that didn't get back together is Casey Kasem, who is the voice of Shaggy. At first, I thought maybe he had died at this point, but he was still alive. And what happened was there was a controversy in 1995 when Casey Kasem refused to voice Shaggy in a Burger King commercial because Casey Kasem was a vegetarian. And then he said that from then on, Shaggy needs to also be a vegetarian like I am. They didn't bring him back for this movie because he's eating a bunch of crawdads. But to replace Casey Kasem, it's actually Billy West, Philip J. Fry.
Like, is this the jackpot of jobs or what?
So once the movie gets going, you know, they find this haunted plantation in Louisiana where the zombies show up, and it turns out that there's a little more to it. There's like some voodoo, there's some cat monsters, there's pirate zombies, there's Confederate war zombies. There's a lot going on in this movie. I do have to say the animation, I think, still looks really good, especially when you compare it to like how horrible those 60s episodes look. The exception being that some of the movie is a little uneven. For instance, the first scene of the movie, you can tell they spent a lot of time on, but there's some transitional scenes later where you can see, they kind of, you know, they were like, this doesn't need to be that important. You have to shout out the first zombie reveal though, because I have to admit, I think this looks fantastic. There's some things that I didn't realize as a kid. Like, Shaggy needs to go to the doctor. He needs to find out why he's eating this much so frequently. At least 50% of Shaggy and Scooby's screen time in this movie is them eating. And sometimes they eat in one scene and immediately the next scene, their motivation is, I'm hungry. Like, I need to get some more food. Also, I have major questions about the Scooby snacks. First off, Shaggy, you shouldn't be eating dog treats. But then next, why are they called Scooby snacks? Scooby's not famous in the universe of the story. Is he named after the treats? Are the treats named after him? Is Velma making these treats and then designing a box to keep them in? I'm really confused about why these dog treats need to share the name of the dog. I don't get it. Before we go too much further, we do need to talk about the elephant in the room here, everyone. They make the Confederate Civil War soldiers the good guys in this movie. It's a bold choice. It's a bold choice. But it was 1998, you know, it was a different time back then. To be fair, they're not so much the good guys as much as they're not the real bad guy. When we find out the plantation owners are these evil cat monsters who have been sucking the souls out of people and turning them into zombies, the pirates and the Confederate soldiers, they're not actually after the gang, but really they're just trying to exact vengeance and, if anything, protect the people who are coming to visit. I do have to say that there's actually a few hints in this movie that will tell you what the mystery is if you're really paying attention. When the zombies are showing up, some of them are like tourists. They're not all pirates. And it kind of makes it clear that, oh, this has been going on for a long period of time. You could predict, oh, hey, like it has to be the people who are running this plantation. I appreciate when a mystery story actually leaves the breadcrumbs, as opposed to sometimes in a movie or show that's a mystery, they magically find that one little piece that puts the whole puzzle together.
Take it easy, Shag. It's just a mask.
If this is a mask, Fred, it's a pretty darn good one.
Good one? It's the fakest, cheesiest mask I've ever seen.
I enjoyed this one probably more than I should. You know, if you have young ones at your house, I think this is a good one to revisit. It introduces a lot of horror elements in a way that isn't too scary, but at the same time, as a child, would probably be pretty frightening. So who knows? Maybe next year we'll do Witch's Ghost.